This conference will now be recorded.
Perfect. For the record, the folks at the meeting this evening, we have Supervisors Doug Rushton, David Ayel, Helen Wheatley, and Betsy DeBreda. We have our Executive Director, Sarah Moorhead. We have staff members Susan Shelton, Leah Kellogg. We have our legal counsel, Ben Cushman, and we have Jean Fike from the State Conservation Commission. Welcome, everybody. Feels like I just saw most of you.
You are our board chair, TJ Johnson.
Thank you. I'm here too. Thank you, Doug. Okay, next up is the agenda review. I've got one proposed change to the agenda based on our work session. I'd like to insert a new item between partner reports and executive session. That item will be other business, 2021 election resolution. With that, are there any other changes proposed by staff or the board?
I've forgotten the procedure, but I wanted to discuss the financial report, which means removing it from the consent agenda. Do I do that later or now?
That's fine. We will approve the agenda as written. When we get to consent, you can make a motion or you can pull that item, and we'll probably put it down at number 6 under other business.
Okay.
Okay, so with
Similarly, TJ, I'd like to add, we just sent out the December financial report. We were able to complete that this week, even though it's a short timeline. So that was also sent out early. So we have the November financial report that Betsy's referring to that was mailed in hard copy in the packet that we weren't able to process last month. And then we have the electronic version of the December financial report that was just sent electronically. And if the board is comfortable, again, I'd recommend adding that to consent, and you can see that highlighted in yellow.
Okay, well, we'll leave it on consent, but we always have the option to pull from the consent calendar once we get there.
Okay. So hold on. I just said the financial report, and I meant the December one.
Okay, not the November one.
Correct.
Thanks for clarifying.
Well, then we can still pull that when we get there.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, is there a motion to approve our agenda?
I so move.
Moved by Betsy, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by David. Roll call vote, Betsy.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Helen.
Aye.
Doug.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. We've approved our agenda. That then does take us to the consent agenda. Currently, there are 4 items on the consent. Betsy, you want to pull item C, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's pull item C from consent. We'll put that under other business as item 6B. With that, is there a motion to approve our consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Moved by David. Is there a second?
Sure, second.
Seconded by Helen. Okay, roll call vote on the consent agenda. David.
Aye.
Helen.
Aye.
Doug.
Aye.
And Betsy.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. We have approved our consent agenda. And I will just note for the record that the November 19th, 2020 minutes that we just approved were approved as amended in our work session earlier this afternoon. Item 4, public comment. Is there anyone on the meeting that wants to address the board? I don't think we have anyone, but this would be the opportunity if I'm missing something here. Anyone to offer public comment? Okay, no public comment. Takes us to item 5, partner reports. First up is the State Conservation Commission. Hello, Jean.
Hello. I don't have a lot of new information to share with you since the WACD and commission meetings that you all have either participated in or heard about, with the exception that the governor's budget came out this afternoon. Have folks had a chance to look at that or hear about that?
No, fill us in.
Okay, so you will see a much more detailed and authoritative treatment coming out later by GovDelivery from our finance and policy folks. But just briefly, the news is much more positive than we feared, much more positive, although it is, of course, mixed. We're in a tough budget year, especially with regards to the operating budget. So the bad news, as I've understood from reports, is that the CTA package was not included in the governor's budget. This was sort of what OFM signaled us to expect. They said that they thought it was well written. They thought it was a very strong package. They were happy with it. They just didn't have the operating dollars to fund it in the governor's budget. So it's just the beginning of the conversation around that, right? They've got the legislative work to do. They based what they felt was available in the operating budget on the most recent revenue reports. And of course, there'll be more revenue reports coming in. So if there's good news there, who knows? But right now it's looking like the implementation dollars are solid. It's a lot better than a lot of folks thought it might be. So I'll refer you to the detailed treatment that'll be coming out. For now, just it's mostly good news. Are there any questions about other matters? Could try to answer.
Jean from the board or staff? Hearing any? Thank you, Jean.
Certainly.
That moves us to partner reports. WACD followed by NACD. Doug submitted as normal or customary written reports. Do you have anything to add to your written reports, Doug?
Yeah, I'd really encourage people to register for the NACD annual meeting. It's only $50, which is like a tenth of what it normally is. It's usually around 500, and there's no travel involved. So you can get a flavor for kind of what's going on. So I'd encourage you to do that.
And that is in February, right?
Yes.
Okay. Questions for Doug? Okay, then we'll move to Department of Ecology. Alina, hello, welcome. You have a report.
Good evening, everyone. I actually don't have any updates for you this evening.
Great. Thanks for being here anyway. And,
good report.
Last on our partner reports is NRCS. Robin, is Robin on the call? I don't think he is. Okay. No report from NRCS. Okay. That moves us to other business, item 6. The first item here, item 6A, is the 2021 elections resolution. As the board knows, but not everybody was at the work session, we spent some time talking about our elections timeline and our elections resolution in our previous meeting a little while ago. And we had made some modifications, some changes to the proposed resolution. Sarah, for the record, there you go. Let's put it up. We're talking about Resolution 2020-11, 2021 district election. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I so
I would
move.
move to approve resolution 2020-11.
I think Betsy got the motion and Doug got the second. Before we vote, is there any further discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, I will move to a roll call vote, starting with the maker of the motion, Betsy.
Aye.
Seconder, Doug.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We have approved the resolution for our next election. Thank you. And then that brings us to item 6B, the item that was pulled from our consent agenda, which is the December 2020 financial report. And Betsy, since you pulled it, why don't you start?
Well, I just sent a quick email to Susan because I noted that on the pages that have all the blue and white lines, page 8, for example, there's a lot of items where we haven't spent much of our budget. We have quite a bit to spend, so I was asking her about that. She did say that we might have to reallocate staff time to get things completed, but maybe Susan could talk more about that, or Sarah.
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one, Susan, and if there's anything that you feel like should be added, please jump in. So there's a couple of different things that you're seeing on this part, Betsy, and without getting into each specific grant and the circumstance, which I'm also happy to do, a couple of these projects are being extended. A lot of things have happened in this year in 2020, and a lot of our grants are going to be extended through the end of next year, even some of those that are looking at ending in June. And so right now we're in the paperwork process of those extensions. Once we actually get those signed extensions back from the funder is when we'll update those on the grant balances report, because then it's a done deal. So that's a little bit of what you're seeing there. Some of them also include a large amount of cost share. And so a lot of that implementation hasn't happened yet. There's some of the NTAs, for example, that include a lot of funding for design work that our prospective engineering position is going to complete in their first, sort of 6 months of employment. And so that's a large expense that we just haven't incurred yet. So some of these are natural processes with the grant, just in terms of when those bigger expenses occur within the timeline. But you're right, some of them also are receiving extensions just because it's taken process of implementation, but also contracting processes back and forth between our respective organizations longer and been more complicated in 2020 because of COVID and all of our other alternative processes we've had to create. So at this point, we're not in jeopardy of losing money or leaving money on the table.
Right.
So things are definitely in flux, and I'm happy to talk specifics if you'd like to.
No, I just wanted kind of a big overview, big picture. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to. Great question.
Yeah, and thank you for pulling it, Betsy. I think whenever we get things kind of at the last minute, it's worth taking a minute to just make sure that we all understand what we're doing before we take an action. So thank you for that. Any other questions or concerns with that financial report? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the December 2020 financial report.
Moved by Betsy. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by David. Roll call vote. Betsy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Doug? Doug? Not hearing you, Doug, if you're there.
I'm sorry. You can't hear me when I'm on mute. Sorry. Aye.
Okay, Doug votes aye and chair votes aye. Unanimous approval of the December 2020 financial report. Thank you all. Next up is an executive session. The purpose of this executive session is to discuss the performance of the executive director. This is permitted under RCW 42.30.110G. The members, the folks that will be participating in this executive session will be all 5 of our supervisors, as well as Gene Fike from the State Conservation Commission. The executive session will last no longer than 30 minutes, and we will make no decisions in executive session. We will hold this meeting space open during that time. We will, in a moment, go to a separate GoToMeeting link, which Jean sent out to us all just a little while ago. And then at the conclusion of the executive session on the other link, we'll come back to this room and we will report out from the executive session and conclude the business on our agenda. So with that, it is now 5:45 and we will suspend our public meeting and move into executive session. No, I'm not going to put anything up on the screen. We're just going to talk. Oh, can you hear me now?
Hold it. I hear you, and I'm still in the regular room, so you're not
Yeah,
close
TJ,
out of audio.
you're still on this meeting.
Is my audio working better this time?
Yes. Yes, it is. I can hear you fine.
Anyone hear me?
Yes.
We hear you, TJ.
Yep.
Is anyone able to hear me?
Now,
Great. I can't hear you though.
yeah, turn
That's
up
on
your
my-
volume.
That's better. Okay, good job. All right, so we are now back in public session for the December 17th board meeting. We just completed an executive session discussing the performance of our executive director. We took no action in that meeting, made no decisions in that meeting. I will be meeting with our executive director next week to go over her annual performance evaluation. And once that's finalized, it'll become a permanent part of her personnel record. So with that, last item on our agenda here is other reports. I don't think we have any supervisor reports because we tried that in our work session earlier. So that leaves us with the executive director's report. Sarah.
Thanks so much, TJ. I do have a couple of items, but I will not take long. Just to wrap up the end of this year, an update on a couple of action pieces that we had set out in our plan. One of those is, and I want to give a big thank you to Leah on this and Ben as well, is that we have sent the board a draft of our updated policies and procedures, which is a whole lot of pages, and we have aligned that with our collective bargaining agreement. So we went through all of the existing policies of the district, found the areas of intersection with all of the articles of the CBA, and made sure that there was consistent language between the two. Leah definitely took the lion's share of that with some support from Sam. We'll give him some credit too, for sure, in authoring that, which is an amazing feat. So thank you, Leah. Ben reviewed that final draft that Leah prepared and gave some recommendations and areas to focus, mostly on formatting and pieces like that. And so Leah took another pass at that and created the final draft that you see before you. So it was an objective of the board to align our policies and procedures to make sure that they match that collective bargaining agreement in this first year. And so that's been drafted and is before the board for review and conversation and adoption, at a later date. So if the board's comfortable, I'm happy to put that on the January work session if there's discussion around that and or on the meeting element there. Again, this is just aligning to make sure that we are reflecting the terms of the CBA. So moving forward into the coming year, once this lift has been completed, we'll want to revisit our approach to reviewing and revising and updating single policies. So there's still policies within the policies and procedures document that we just need to review to familiarize ourselves with regularly and evaluate effectiveness, and also update if there's been changing legislation, for example, or changing practices from the auditor's office. So that is one update. Any thoughts or comments on that piece?
Given the
This is-
length of the document, I do think it's a good idea if we have a little bit of time to look at it, both for the changes, but also to refresh ourselves what our policies are. So I like your idea of putting it on the work session where we can bring any questions we would have in January, and then following that, we'd probably put it on the consent agenda for our January board meeting.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Another element that we added to our strategic plan, or our annual plan rather, for 2020 was to engage veterans in veterans programming. supporting veterans, especially given our immediate proximity to Joint Base Lewis McChord and the large veterans population that lives within Thurston County. We have resumed collaboration and conversation with the Department of Veterans Affairs to begin forming a Veterans Conservation Corps crew for Thurston Conservation District. The primary project and funding source and thing that will allow us to do that is our work out at the Skookumchuck project. Within that project, there's a hefty amount of resources available to support work crews to do the implementation over a period of time. So that has led us to conversations with Department of Veterans Affairs, and we're going through the process right now of articulating that sort of placement position description so that they can do some internal recruitment with veterans. So this crew would be a crew that would function similarly like an internship, like a paid internship crew through Department of Veterans Affairs, and would function and act a lot like the Washington Conservation Corps, who we have had out there planting this fall. The Conservation Corps members with the Washington State Conservation Corps are busy for the next planting windows that we need crews out in the field. So it's a natural time, transition time for us to put our own crew in place. I know that other districts are also looking at this, such as Grays Harbor, and there's been a lot of collaboration with districts in general and Department of Veterans Affairs for these placements. So I'm really excited that we'll be able to have an opportunity that's so mutually beneficial to help us get these projects on the ground and have a crew of dedicated folks that we can work closely with to do so. And that we'll be able to have this opportunity where we can engage veterans in ecotherapy, as well as in learning about natural resources conservation work that we do, and maybe even career transitioning into natural resource fields. So I think that there's a lot of merits to this moving forward, and I'm really excited that we've been able to make traction on something that we added to our annual plan earlier this spring. So any thoughts or questions on that piece? So the next one, if there's not any thoughts or comments, is just a follow up on a short piece. We had a conversation a while back about installing road signs that say welcome to Thurston CD or you're in Thurston Conservation District on our major arterials as we head into Thurston County. And so we have had a very great and somewhat long and complex conversation with a lot of folks at DOT about where and how conservation districts fit within the world of highway signage. And so we've finally identified a really particular pathway to allow us to proceed to the next level in terms of highway signage. So we still are not able to put signs within the right-of-ways of state-owned highways, but we are able to put them off-road. So right now we've done some analysis of the arterials entering our county, GIS analysis, thank you, Adam, to look at land ownership in those areas to see where we might be able to look at partnerships with entities or individuals that have space adjacent to freeway to see if there's avenues that we can put signage in those areas. I know that other districts have taken advantage of that and been successful. And so I'm hopeful that as we look at those, we will too. I've noticed already that some of our partners own property in those areas that have similar missions, and it might be a great avenue for us to be able to still get some of those signs. And so more to come on that, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to proceed with at least installation of a couple of signs on some of those major arterials again, and definitely with the clearance from the State Department of Transportation. So official update will come in the future on that. Any comments or questions at this point on that?
Well, I'm just wondering about our cities. Do they have the same obstacles? Because I'm just thinking, like, when you get off the freeway going into Olympia, there's a "Welcome to Tree City, USA" sign or something, and that's a city sign, but it's certainly just a welcome to this tree city. So
Yeah.
are cities different or the same?
So they're not the same, but the types of signage might fall under the same section of the manual. Districts are specifically called out as being prohibited from putting signs in state-owned right-of-ways, but it depends on where that sign is that you just referenced, if that's in a right-of-way or if that is on city-owned property, because if it's on city-owned property, there's additional allowances that we would fall under. And so that would be something we would look at is a partnership where there's city-owned property that we work with, NGO or other private cooperators that might be open to putting even our sign, in a pasture or something like that. So when we have those opportunities identified, we'll come back with an update on where we might be able to, or if there's some parcels that supervisors might have particular connections to some of those partnerships that we might be able to work with to support that initiative.
It's a great idea.
Well, I appreciate you following up on that. I do find it just kind of mind-boggling that it's okay to advertise McDonald's and Chuck E. Cheese on our highways, but we can't let people know that we're trying to conserve the environment, protect resources.
Yeah, and that's another even separate category of specific highway signage, as I'm sure that you're well aware of, that is paid regularly to keep there. So yeah, certainly another avenue, but maybe not the best fitting for the CD.
Well, again, I'm impressed that Adam has been able to use his GIS skills to give us some other options here, and I look forward to hearing about what our options might be in the future.
Absolutely, and I definitely want to give credit to Kiana, who has been working with the engineer for the Southwest area, one of the engineers at DOT, to really synthesize what exactly it is that we're looking at and where CDs fall in the world, which is a cyclical conversation for sure. So yeah, I appreciate that. So the last update that I have, or really just comment, is we're coming to the end of this year. We're coming to the end of a year that's been rather interesting in the world, and another rather interesting year for Thurston CD, but a really great one. So, while there's been a lot of chaos at large, Thurston CD has continued to thrive and continued to do our work and meet deliverables and make a big impact in our community. Staff has worked harder than ever to make sure to adapt and adjust and make sure that we're out there to support people and support industries, as we've seen all kinds of things ripple in terms of resources and supply chains, and we've seen big impacts on that. And I'm really proud of everybody that's putting great conservation on the ground and all of the great work that we're doing to move things forward. And I think we all, the staff and myself included, just want to say thank you to our Board of Supervisors that volunteer their time to meet with us and to guide us and to bring really unique and important perspectives from our community into the district. We have, in my humble opinion, the best board out there. You guys really are propelling us forward and bringing such a unique and diverse set of expertise and experiences and communities that you represent. And I just value each of you. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the district staff to our great Board of Supervisors. And I hope you guys have a great holiday. And I really look forward to doing more amazing things with you guys next year.
Thank you, Sarah. That's wonderful. I was also going to recognize that as we approach the end of the year, it's been an amazing year for Thurston Conservation District. We started with a temporary ED while you were out doing the important work of having a child, and then we went through a strategic planning process. Got a little rather dramatic at one point when we had to call the ambulance and get Stu some help. And then everything we've gone through with COVID and everything else, and then culminating in the amazing recognition that you got, Sarah, from WACD for your leadership. And, you know, I feel very good to be a member of this team. And I was thinking about how fun it was last year when we had a little bit of a holiday celebration at our last meeting. We had some nice food and little holiday celebration. And while we can't do that this year for obvious reasons, I know at some point over the next week or two, I'm going to smile when I think of you all, and I'm going to raise a glass of wine and just thank you all for being great folks to work with, and the folks that aren't here, the staff as well, just awesome staff. So, you know, we've all done a lot of volunteer work over the years on the board, and it's not always a lot of fun. It's not always successful, but this for me has been a great year and one of the better volunteer experiences I've ever been a part of. So thank you all. And with that, why don't we adjourn so we can go raise a glass of wine or something to ourselves? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Moved by David,
I'll second that.
seconded by Helen. Roll call vote. David,
Aye.
Helen,
Aye.
Doug,
No, wait, yay. I had to do that at least once.
we can record you as a no. You'll still be outvoted, Doug. Betsy,
Aye, and sorry I was a little late. I had trouble getting back.
and chair votes aye. So we are adjourned. Final meeting of the year. Happy holidays to everybody, and we'll see you all in early January at our next work session.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Be safe out there.
See you next year.